What's good, everybody? It's when I come back at you on a video. So this video here is going to be all about wealth. It's going to be strictly about finances. And I've titled this video, Money Does Not Make a Person Wealthy. Now, before we begin, I want to preface by saying I understand that true wealth is happiness, that true wealth is having, great health, right? Because your happiness is the only true measure of success, and that is true wealth in this lifetime. But in this video, when I'm using the term wealth, wealthy or wealth, I want to specify that I'm specifically talking about finance. I'm specifically talking about money, right? And I want to use this video to highlight that money does not make a person wealthy, that it is actually their wealth consciousness that makes them wealthy. Now, we'll start off this video by using an example, right? That studies show that many people who win, let's say they hit a lottery or jackpot and they walk away with over $1 million, right? Studies show that many people who receive a lump sum of $1 million or greater tend to end up being in a worse financial position than they were prior to receiving the jackpot or the lottery. Now, it sounds crazy to say out loud. It sounds crazy to think because, for most people's immediate reaction is like, how could you end up in a worse position if you received a lump sum of $1 million or greater, right? If anything, you should always be in a better position. But what you need to remember and realize is that oftentimes people who win these lotteries or these jackpots are typically people who historically haven't been good with their money, right? Like maybe they're working an occupation and then, when the week ends and they get paid, they pay off their bills. And then after that, they spend all their money on food, on clothes, on just materialistic things because they love spending money. It makes them happy and it takes their mind away from their life. It's like an escape. And then they return next week to repeat the same cycle, right? Or some people have just been strapped on cash. Like they've just never been good with money. They don't understand how money actually works, how it functions. And so because let's just say that they're financially illiterate, right? They just haven't received, an education on finances and how it all works. These people win this lump sum and they end up being in a worse position because when they win this lump sum of money, right, this $1 million jackpot, they typically go and immediately improve their standard of living, right? They'll go buy the new house. They'll get the new car. They'll get, they've dreamed of buying all the sneakers or the designer clothes that they've always wanted. They'll go and purchase it, right? They'll go make this purchase. They'll go celebrate at the club and get bottles, right? They'll go to a restaurant, the fanciest restaurant, and splurge, right? And they'll end up being in a worse position because that money will get spent on liabilities. They'll buy a house, which, either they'll pay it all in cash or they'll get a mortgage on the house, which means it's a loan that you have to pay off to the bank, right? So you have to keep paying. Same with the car, right? Sometimes they might take out a loan for the vehicle and then they have to pay monthly payments on the car and also insurance, right? So it's like they stack up on liabilities and they end up going into debt. And they end up being in a worse position financially than they were before the jackpot because they were already bad with money as it is. And now you give them money and they don't know what to do with it. They'll just immediately try to improve the quality of their life and the standard of living to impress other people, only to end up being in a worse position because now you're in debt when prior to winning you weren't in debt. That is because that person lacked wealth consciousness. Now, what is wealth consciousness? Wealth consciousness is having a mindset of prosperity and abundance. It is having the right attitude, a positive attitude that you are capable of winning, capable of capitalizing on opportunities, that opportunities exist right where you stand, right? That it's not that this hidden treasure is somewhere far away that you got to search for. Understanding that you are the treasure and that you can in fact create value for other people and help improve the quality of life for other people, help solve other people's problems, right? Create value. That is the name of the game, creating value for other people. Someone who operates from a position of wealth consciousness understands that, right? These are the people that are actually wealthy. Because if, let's just say, for example, let's just say there's rich, right? There's the rich class, and then let's say there's a wealth class. Let's say if you ever reach billionaire status, you are officially part of the wealth class. Even if, you know, the same person that hit the $1 million jackpot, right? Let's just say they hit a new jackpot and reach $1 billion, right? And they're now part of the wealth class. Because they still lack wealth consciousness, they're not going to remain in the wealth class. If anything, the number's going to drop, and then they'll probably end up in debt again, because that is how they're programmed. That is how they operate. When they get some money, they have to immediately upgrade their standard of living to impress other people, and they don't have any understanding of how money works or financial principles. And so that's why they'll end up reverting back to how they've always been. Someone who's has wealth consciousness, this is someone who can have the finances, and they can lose all of their finances in a snap of a finger or overnight, and over time they'll make their way back to the position that they were once at, because they have wealth consciousness. They have the right mindset and the mentality to create value for other people, which will ultimately attract finance to them, attract money to them, and it'll bring them back to the position that they were in. This is why when I say money does not make a person wealthy, it is true. Because you can be given finances. Say you were given 200 million and your goal is to take that money and turn it into $1 billion. Most people wouldn't be able to do it because they don't understand how money works, and they lack wealth consciousness, right? They'll be so fearful. Or some people will just aggressively spend it, and they'll say, okay, I'll do it, but I'll get there after I buy the house, the nice car, the nice clothes, everything. And they'll go on a splurge and shopping spree. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself, but they'll just go on a shopping spree and just have so much fun and not care. And then soon enough, that number will dip so far down that they'll find themselves back in the position that they used to be, right? That's why it's no surprise here in the United States, right? The two most popular sports are American football and basketball. And it's no surprise that the majority of players, even though they've played in these leagues and made millions of dollars, it's no surprise why the majority of them end up broke or in debt, because they lack wealth consciousness, because they were able to make their money through playing the sport, right? A sport where it's nationally televised. People watch the sport because they're interested in sport. They pay money, tickets to go watch the sport. They will buy your jersey and, you know, all these things. And then when they're no longer in the league, they, during their time in the league, right, they were celebrity, they received attention, right? They were living a certain lifestyle. And then when they're no longer in the league, they want to maintain living that lifestyle because they've been accustomed to living that lifestyle. The only difference is that the income that they had is no longer there. So that's why they end up either in debt or going broke. And that's because they lack wealth consciousness. They've never had to learn or understand the principle of providing value to other people, because they were just getting paid for playing the sport, and they just never wanted to accept that day will come when they're no longer getting paid for playing that sport, right? These are people that lack wealth consciousness. So money does not make a person wealthy, because it doesn't matter how much money, like if a massive amount of money gets into the hands of the wrong person, then that person can end up just blowing right through it and end up reverting back to where they once were. However, if a certain amount of money, a lump sum, gets into the hands of the right person, that right person can multiply it, right? Because they'll use that income to supply creating products or whatever it is, to create products of value to help other people, to help improve the quality of life to other people, which will in turn continue to deliver them wealth, right? So moral of this video is this, once again, right? It's money itself does not make someone wealthy, right? The wealth consciousness is from within. It's understanding who you are, your gift, your power, what you can do, and understanding society itself, solving other people's problems, right? That is that's having wealth consciousness, and that is what should be your focus. It's not about the money stuff, because once you have wealth consciousness, if you develop, because everyone has it, it's just a matter of if you're aware of it, right? It's within everyone, because we have the ability to provide value to other people. We are free thinkers. We can think for ourselves. We have an imagination. We can create something in our mind and bring it to the real world, something that hasn't been seen before. So we were all born rich. We are all wealthy. It's just some people are just not aware of their own wealth consciousness, or don't tap into it, right? And so so it doesn't matter how much money they actually have, they can lose it all if they lack wealth consciousness. So it's not about the money itself, right? It's about wealth consciousness that allows someone to truly be wealthy. Because then if you have strong wealth consciousness, right, if you're aware of it, then it doesn't matter where your financial situation is, right? Even if you hit rock bottom and lose it all, you know that you can make your way back to the position that you were once at. And it's no surprise why you could go online and see the endless interviews of millionaires being asked that same question: if you lost it all, could you make it back? And each and every one of them will say yes without a shadow of a doubt, because they know they've gone through the journey. They now understand how the game all works, and they play by the rules. They play the game the way it was intended. And so if they lost it all, they can make it back, because they understand the principles. They understand how society works. They understand how it all functions. And so that is the goal for you. And that, to me, was the major shift for me, because most people, when they operate, they see this piece of paper and they want more of this piece of paper, but they don't understand what this piece of paper represents and how it all works. And once you begin waking up and being aware to your own wealth consciousness, and understanding that you yourself are valuable, that you are one of the most valuable creatures to ever walk this earth, that you're one of one, and there's so much to you that you can offer to the world. Once you understand that and believe that, then you'll be operating from that vantage point, from that perspective. And then once you do that, right, that's when things will begin changing for you. That's when you know that it's no longer if, it'll just be a matter of when, right? Because you know that it's inevitable for you to win. So that is the main difference right there. It's not about the money itself. It's about the wealth consciousness that will allow you to remain being wealthy. So once again, I understand that true wealth, actual wealth in life, is about happiness, and that's how it should be measured. But I know people have a tendency to equate success with how much money someone has. But this video here, talking about actual finances, that is what actually makes a person wealthy, because then it doesn't matter what financial position you're in. If you have wealth consciousness, the sky's the limit, right? If you lack it, or you don't have awareness of it, then it's only a matter of time before, even if you're given no matter what the lump sum of money is, you'll likely just end up crashing and burning. So focus on that. Focus on having the right mindset, the right mentality. Focus on understanding that, opportunity exists everywhere, and focus on providing value to other people, because then you'll be happy, right? It'll make you happy knowing that you're helping someone else, but ultimately you're working within the laws of the universe, and you're working with how it all is intended, how the game is intended to be played. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe, as we are on the road to 1 million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.